From tens of books that I read last year, I picked up a few that are totally worth reading, that are worth your time and your investment. Hi there, I'm Manpreet. I make book related videos on this channel every Wednesday and Saturday at 6 p.m. And today I'm going to talk about my favorite fiction books of 2019. The list is rather long because I did not want to skip any book that I really liked reading and that I really wanted to tell you guys about. So I have 21 books. Without further ado, let's get started and talk to you about all the great books that I read last year. First 5 books are my top 5 of the year, and rest of them are in no particular order. Number 1 is actually a collection of 6 books, that is the Mortal Instrument series, which is always there on my bookshelf right now in a rather random order because I'm lending my books to a couple of friends. Anyway, Mortal Instrument series by Cassandra Clare is a set of 6 books. Originally they were 3, but now they're 6. Okay, and it follows Clary, and the series talks of this fantastical world where there are shadow hunters, which are part human and part angels, and they protect the entire world, people like us, from demons and all those downworlders. Okay, and we have Clary, who suddenly starts seeing shadow hunters, and the plot begins from there. The book has romance, the book has strong characters, a very strong plot line, and great writing. You will just fall in love with the characters. Trust me, the first 2 books might be a bit of a drag, just the first book I think, but once you get into it, I am telling you, you would not be able to get out of this world. You would not be able to forget this world. So if you are into fantasy books, you need to pick up the Mortal Instrument series, which is my number 1 favorite book of the last year. My number 2 favorite fiction book of 2019 is Chorasi, which is a Hindi book and an amazing love story set in 1984 during the riots. So it talks of 2 people, Rishi and Manu, and they fall in love. It's their love story, but their love story takes a serious turn when the 1984 riots hit in their city. And the book is so amazing. You would not be able to forget these characters. I mean, I still keep wanting to go back to this book and read it again. It's so amazing. So you should definitely check it out. My number 3 fiction book of 2019 is again a romance novel. I mean, I did not plan this, but The Fault in Our Stars by John Green is a book that I totally should have read years ago, but I read it now. It talks of 2 teenagers who are suffering through cancer. It's basically a young adult romance novel, and you might assume that it's very heartbreaking, but it's also very funny. So I would definitely recommend you to read The Fault in Our Stars if you are somebody like me who has kept ignoring this book for a long time. Okay, so do pick it up. It's my 3rd favorite fiction book of 2019. For me, the 4th best book of 2019 was Finding Audrey by Sophie Kinsella. It is a young adult contemporary novel, and it's also very funny, but it also follows this character who is suffering through a mental disorder. So this character seriously had a nervous breakdown, and she's suffering through anxiety, and she is having issues stepping out of her house, and the whole book is so funny. Sophie Kinsella has a knack of writing great novels but also adding a lot of fun into it, so definitely pick it up. It's seriously a very good book. And my 5th favorite novel of 2019 was The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. First of all, thank you so much, Helly, for gifting this book to me. I would never have even thought of reading this book. It's a World War II based novel. So before reading this book, I wasn't particularly interested in these kind of novels, but after reading this, I am all up for reading a lot of World War II novels. Basically, this book follows this little boy whose father is in the Nazi army, and they move to this place which is, it's not very obvious in the book, but it is a concentration camp. And this book follows this little boy and how he is trying to adjust his move to this different place. A very serious book, makes you cry, but definitely worth reading. So do check it out. Now, after this, the books are in no particular order. So let me just talk about my favorite books of 2019, which are definitely worth reading, okay? Yes, I know I have been doing it already, but I wanted to remind you to like this video, share this video, and subscribe if you haven't already, okay? If you're watching me for the first time and if you want to follow more videos like this, please subscribe. I wanted to remind you of that. And now the next one is a murder mystery, ABC Murders by Agatha Christie. I am a huge fan of Agatha Christie novels. I try to read 1 or 2 novels every year of Agatha Christie, and this one was particularly very interesting. What happens is that there is a murderer, and he starts sending letters to Poirot, who is the famous detective in Agatha Christie novels. And Poirot is given a hint, and he has to figure out who is committing these murders. It's very interesting. Poirot is being challenged, and I really like this book, guys. Next is Crown of Midnight. Now, this is the second book after Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I am really disappointed in myself for I did not read more Sarah J. Maas books, because Throne of Glass, guys, I fell in love back in 2018 and then somehow could not get to it in 2019. I feel really bad about it, but really happy that at least I read Crown of Midnight. Thoroughly enjoyed it. You should try out this series. Again, a fantastical tale, follows this assassin, but it has a lot of romance in it. A lot of people are like, oh my god, I picked up a book expecting this assassin to be, a killer and be the assassin, but she's always thinking about boys and everything. It's a romance, fantastical romance. So yeah, there are boys, there is love, there is romance, and there are mysteries, a lot of mysteries. There's ruthlessness. It has everything. So if you like that kind of package, go for it. Next, I have two books to suggest you. Basically, Nicholas Sparks is again an author that I try to read every year. I read two books by Nicholas Sparks in 2019, The Notebook and See Me. The Notebook is sort of like a classic romance novel now. It follows this story where, two teenagers fell in love, but then they fall apart, and then the boy is in this small town and the girl moves to her bigger world, and then she comes back and their love is rekindled. It's amazing. There's also a movie, but the book is really, really good, so try it out. It is one of my best reads of 2019. And then I read See Me by Nicholas Sparks, which is a romance but with a thriller twist. I really like the elements in this book because the guy has solid anger issues and the girl has a lot of mysteries attached to her. So the thriller twist in this romance novel was really cool and I enjoyed reading it. So if you are looking for romance novels, okay, so you should try it out. See Me by Nicholas Sparks. Then I have an Indian fantasy novel, Born to be King, The Epic of Kautilya. It is like a first book in the series and it follows this young girl who has been wronged several times and she's trying to avenge and restore her family's honor. Honestly, I loved how this had a female lead and how this book by a debut author is so good. So I'm already excited to read the next book in the series. And yes, this is again one of my best reads of 2019. Next, again, I have two books. I have an author, Hugo Dumas, who is an author I read for the first time in 2019. And oh my god, guys, I am going to read every book Hugo Dumas writes, okay? Because We Are Terror and By Death Defined were really, really good books. Both are fantastical in nature and a little bit horror in nature as well. And By Death Defined, guys, it's hard to explain how beautiful the writing is. It follows a family in the middle of a war. And there's a lot of death and gory details and sadness involved, but the way the book progresses, it's not even long, it's short, and the way it progresses, it's beautiful. You must try it, okay? Do remember that all the books that I'm mentioning in this video are linked down below in the description, so you can check them out and buy from my affiliate links if you want. Next one, We Are Terror by Hugo Dumas. If I talk about it, it is set where there's a war going between the supernatural and humans, and in this war we follow the supernatural people and they are the ones we connect with and we kind of want them to win. And again, very differently written books. I love Hugo Dumas writing because of how differently he writes. It's just an experience to read a Hugo Dumas book, so do try it out. Next, I have Alumni of the Year by Thompson Robert. Again, a short contemporary fiction about this guy who is a workaholic and who also buys his way into this Alumni of the Year competition. And he goes through self-reflection throughout this book, and it's funny, it's amazing, it's relatable. One of my favorites of 2019. Next, I have a set of 3 books. Basically, are you able to see that these 21 books are not really 21? They are much more than that. I just wanted to give you more, guys. Anyway, I have Kalki Trilogy, which is a set of 3 books. In 2019, the final novel came out and I read the whole trilogy. It's a mythological fantasy novel in which Kalki Avatar has been imagined and his life has been imagined. What we see is a prophecy about Dharam and Adharam, and the book begins with two characters, Kali and Kalki. Kali, who is this ruthless and really like plotter and who wants to, and quite early in the book becomes a king. And Kalki, who is a young village boy who has special powers, and he might be the Dharam and Kali might be the Adharam. That's where the book begins from, and all 3 books are really good. There are so many plot twists, there are so many new characters that come in, and it's just really fun to read Kalki Trilogy. mythology. I mean, I still vividly remember my experience with the first book, okay? And I would not be able to forget it because, there are some books that you read and you forget. And then there are some books you might forget, but you remember the experience. So Kalki Trilogy is one of those books. I wanted to say you would not forget, but being honest, I would definitely forget. So I had to say it like that. Even though it ruins the impact. Honesty, guys. Honesty. Next is again a book. Now that we are talking about Kevin Missel, owing to his extremely extraordinary skill of releasing multiple books in a year, I also want to include the rest of his books that I read and really liked and would recommend to you guys. First is Meghnad, which is again a mythological fantasy tale that follows Meghnad as a character. Meghnad was Ravan's son, and it talks of how this character is like, and a little bit about his relationship with his father, and how this character progresses as he finds love in his story and everything. It's basically written for beginners, so if you are somebody who is trying to get into the mythological fantasy genre, you can try this one. Another one by Kevin Missel is Narsimha, which is, I would say, out of all of these, this was my favorite. This follows another avatar of Vishnu, Narsimha, and it's his story. And I actually really like this book more, but the writing is a little more complex as compared to Kalki and Meghnad. So get into this book not as a beginner, but definitely read this book, okay? Now that we are talking about mythology, let's talk about The Last Hero by Rick Riordan. Now, Rick Riordan writes Greek mythological novels, and he has this adventure setting. And basically, it follows demigods who are human children of Greek gods. And I have read the Percy Jackson series. I would say before reading The Lost Hero, you need to try out the Percy Jackson series. If you're done with it, you go to The Lost Hero, where the Lost Hero is that Percy Jackson, and we go into the Roman mythology. So this book, The Lost Hero, follows Jason, who is more into Roman mythology than Greek mythology. Okay, that's all I'm going to say, because if I tell you more about it, I will give away spoilers. But definitely a very good book. I have read the second one as well, and now I'm reading the third one, and I definitely recommend this series to you guys. I'm really enjoying it. Amongst all my best reads of 2019, I also have a thriller for you guys, Cross Her Heart by Sarah Pinborough. This follows this mother-daughter duo, and there are some really creepy secrets in the mother's past which are coming back to haunt her, but it would be very different than what you will expect right in the beginning or even in the middle of the book. So I actually enjoyed reading this thriller novel very much and would definitely recommend it to you guys. But wait, I have another crime novel suggestion for you, and that is a collection of short stories, Telltale by Jeffrey Archer. Jeffrey Archer writes crime, okay? They are not much of a thriller, but they are very good crime story. I'm talking as if I have read many Jeffrey Archer books, which is not the case. This was my first one, but I really enjoyed it. All the stories were brilliant. The way they were executed and the story itself of those stories was really good. So I would definitely recommend you Telltale if you want to read crime novels and if you want to read short stories. Another book that I want to recommend to you that I read in 2019, and it was also released in 2019, it was Malhar, which is the sequel to Arthala. Now, Arthala is again a Hindi book which I enjoyed so much. It's again a fantastical novel set in this world which is quite similar to our real world, but it is a fantastical setting. So yeah, we have this character who is a Siddhi Dharak. Basically, he has superpowers, and then we have this war coming in which Vidhan, the guy with the superpowers, has to participate, and then the whole world unravels in front of you, which is just amazing. The writing of this book and the character building, super amazing. I mean, it should totally be in my top 5. And lastly, I have Caravan. Do not even dare to think that just because this is in the last, it's not as good. It's amazing. It's in the last because probably this was the last book I read in the 2019, and it's amazing. It's a journey, okay? It actually talks of a journey. It follows this photographer who has been given this assignment where he has to go to Morocco from London and then cross the Sahara. And wow, such a picturesque book. If you like to read travelogues, or if you just want to experience beautiful writing, you're like, and read stories are fine, but I want to, see the magic of writing. I want to just enjoy a journey. Then you pick up Caravan by Adam de Colibus. Definitely worth reading. So amazing and also different. Like Caravan is different than all the books you saw in this video. So if you're like, Manpreet, I did not like any of your recommendations, which I'll be very sad about. But if you did not like any of those, you will definitely like Caravan. So yes, guys, these are my top fiction books of 2019. If you're like, Manpreet, do you read only fiction? No, guys, I also read non-fiction, and my top non-fiction favorites video is already up. You just missed it. I am heartbroken about it now. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed watching this video and you got some great recommendations from it. Tell me in the comments below which of these books are you reading. Thank you so much for watching. This is Manvi signing off. I'll be back with another video very soon.